Welcome back. Eric Shawn sitting in for Jonathan Hunt today. Tom Ruskin's with us. He is a former police detective with the finest, and I've known him for, what, like 30 years?
Long time.
Oh, man, oh, man.
I remember when I was a young cop and you were young, very, very young.
Out on the streets.
Reporter,
yeah,
right?
Exactly, yeah.
And we used to see each other all the time.
Yeah.
In different events
Exactly.
that would happen around the city.
Exactly. You never read me my Miranda rights yet.
Well, we never arrested you, for the record.
Bill Daley, former FBI. Good to see you, Bill. He's on.
Good to see you, Eric.
Skype.
Nice to go down memory lane with you all, and certainly we know each other for a while as well. But I can't say 30 years. But
just fabulous to see you both. First, we were just talking about this prostitute scandal with the Secret Service. Both you gentlemen in law enforcement. I mean, Bill, just what are your thoughts? I mean, look, you go on business trips, people go to bars and things, and that's one thing. But this seems, even though it's legal down there, this brings it to a whole another level.
Well, there's one thing I think, in my view, Eric, between legality and also ethical behavior on behalf of people who work for you, whether they're in a private company and represent the company and the reputation and the brand of that company, or whether with the U.S. government. And to tell you the truth, as government employees, and having been one, and being my salary paid for by the citizens of this country, I don't believe that that's an activity that we should be allowing to occur, whether or not it's locally legal.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's something that goes against the brand and reputation of the agency, as well as against the United States, much like other private companies.
Yeah, Tom, I guess, when you have Hollywood stars and this sort of thing, when they get in trouble, it always kind of reflects on their brand, of course.
I think it depends on what you're doing and what you do for a career relative to engaging. I mean, I would advise any employee never to do it. It doesn't bode well for them, with their company or their employer, especially if they're expensing it. It wouldn't bode well. But, people who work for our company now, and I know for Bill's company, wouldn't be allowed to do it. They would be fired. We would terminate them for cause based on that.
I want to add, you're the president of CMP Consulting Group, and Bill is the vice president of Control Risks. Both you gentlemen, years and years of investigative work, and we get to baby Lisa, which is this heartbreaking story. In Missouri, the 8-month-old baby who was allegedly taken from her crib. One of the parents was said she was drunk and the window was open. She was 10 months at the time. 10 months at the time. It happened 8 months ago, and they have been on television. They spoke this week, in fact, with our own Megyn Kelly. Just a heartbreaking story. I mean, Bill, where do you go when the baby is snatched? They say there's a debit card that shows a $60-some-odd charge for a British company that can change your baby's name legally. That's weird. Who knew there were those type of companies? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. It's this case overall has been an extremely strange case. I remember speaking about it when it first occurred, and certainly, for any of us in law enforcement, the thought of someone breaking into someone's home and just stealing a baby. We've had a few of these cases. Look at Elizabeth Smart, who was taken from her home. I mean, these things do happen. Of course, law enforcement needed to focus in on the family as well, because certainly they're the ones in these kinds of cases which they have to rule out before they can look further. But this internet charge of someone looking to change a baby's name, I'll be very frank with you, I haven't heard about this before. I'm quite surprised that those type of sites could exist, and you usually need to go through some legal representation in most countries around the world to change the name of someone and have a guardian ad litem, someone who represents the child who is underage, to see if this is in the child's best interest. So how this could occur is really strange to me, but certainly on the top of a very, very bizarre case to begin with.
Not to cast anything on these parents, but it seems from my experience the vast majority of these cases, as you say, have to do with someone that the baby knows, a babysitter, someone close, someone involved. But then you got the Lindbergh baby kidnapping.
But this was also an infant child. So to play devil's advocate here for a second, you have the parents. Law enforcement always has to look at the parents. You have to evaluate, could the parents be a target of your investigation? But at this point in time, you have neighbors seeing someone who looks like this Jersey Joe, who may have abducted the child. You have to give him a good look. There's also a sighting of someone who looks also like Jersey Joe walking down the street with an infant that's captured on a surveillance camera at a local gas station. You have to look at this. The fact that the father's card was used 6 months after the kidnapping is not indicative of a theft of a credit card. And I think you have to look at it, but I think you also have to evaluate in the time period. People who steal credit cards for the purpose of using them for illicit purposes normally do so in a very quick time after they've stolen the credit card. They don't do
Right.
it.
It'd also be interesting. It
right,
would be
Bill.
very interesting in this case to know whether or not it was the actual card that was used, or, as we know, tremendous rings are out there that actually steal credit card information and are able to use that information without the physical presence of a card. We also know that it wouldn't be too surprising also that law enforcement wouldn't have told the family to keep all of those, any credit cards and those things open if they thought they were compromised, because it does lead to a trail. So some people immediately say, turn off all credit cards, turn off the phones, let's not have any of those things being vulnerabilities for the family. But on the other hand, they're great investigative tools. So if someone starts to use them, it does give you a trail.
Yeah, you talk about Jersey Joe, by the way. They have discounted him, but there are apparently a couple of these type of sightings. So how do you go after
But you have
someone
to,
you don't know?
at this point in time, you have to take fresh eyes and look at this case. You have to have a new set of investigators work with the old investigators and give it a new set of eyes. Maybe they'll see something that the original investigators didn't see. It seems to me, from what I've heard, and from Megyn Kelly's interview of the family with their attorney, Joe Tacopina, that the parents have been in very close contact with the FBI, whereas they say that local police have not been as forthcoming or as cooperative with them as the FBI has been. I think you have to take a new approach to it and maybe sit down with the family again and go over it one more or two more times to see if you missed something. Law enforcement agencies occasionally do miss things.
Can I raise something else totally different? You talk about this errant card, this debit card, and Bill, you're at Control Risks, and how do you control the risks? We had a charge. I had a charge, it was from Beijing. I didn't buy something for $53 in Beijing. Called them up, we got it, we start to deal with it. What's your advice to people? I just happened to be going through the stuff and wait a minute. I asked my son, did you buy something, did you order something from China? He's like, no. So how do we stop this stuff? I Googled the name of this company, and man, it's all over the web. People around the country saying that this firm has been deducting money from their accounts. So what's your advice to people, Bill?
Well, first of all, the best thing to do is constantly look at your statements. Now, the issue is out there is that this is just the tip of the iceberg, what you're mentioning here. This happens time and time again. I was actually at a presentation by the U.S. Secret Service that has responsibility for investigating these type of financial electronic crimes. And it is just overwhelming, the amount of traffic, the amount of attempts they get from overseas. As I mentioned just previously in the other case, is the fact that people out there selling these card numbers wherever they may have gotten them from, whether it's from an early internet transaction, whether it's from you using it at a store or a gas station where someone has compromised the information. But this is an ongoing issue. It's an epidemic around the world. And unfortunately, the best we can do as consumers and as custodians of our own accounts is monitor that, report it as soon as possible. It's a pain in the neck, I know. It's a pain in the neck to have to call and cancel your card and get a new one. But that's the only way you can protect yourself. And most companies, when you do report that, will reverse those until they complete their investigation. If they find it's fraud, they'll remove that from your either your debit card or your credit card.
Yeah,
the other thing that I would add to everything that Bill said, which is absolutely on mark, is there are credit card monitoring companies out there, well-known companies, that will send you an alert every time your credit card is accessed by something that seems suspicious. If someone tries to open a credit card using your Social Security number, now if it's you say, fine, I know about that. But if it's not you, it gives you a chance to stop it before it even gets going.
Fascinating. Yeah, good. Watch those cards. Bill and Tom, thank you.